Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the League of Legends Champion Guide, featuring Lee Sin, the Blind Monk. Lee Sin is a melee jungler that excels in using his mobility to gain a lead on his targets and deal massive damage. His ultimate allows him to kick enemies into each other and into his team. Lee's passive is called Flurry. After Lee Sin uses his ability, his next two basic attacks gain 40% attack speed and return energy on hit. Lee Sin's Q is Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike. With this, Lee Sin sends out a wave of sound, landing on the first enemy hit. If he recasts his ability, he'll dash to the enemy and deal damage. Lee Sin's W is Safeguard and Iron Will. With this, Lee Sin rushes to the targeted ally, giving them and himself a shield. Afterwards, Lee Sin can cast Iron Will for a few seconds. When he does this, he gains Lifesteal and Spell Vamp for a few moments as well. Lee Sin's E is Tempest and Cripple. With this, Lee Sin smashes the ground, dealing damage and revealing all damaged enemies. If Lee Sin damages an enemy champion with this, he can then recast it to slow them. Lee Sin's ultimate is Dragon's Rage. With this, Lee Sin performs a powerful roundhouse kick, launching his target back, dealing physical damage to the target and enemies they collide with along the way. For Lee Sin's abilities, you're first going to start off with Q, take W second, and then take E last. You're going to max Q first, max E second, and then max W last. And as always, take R every time you can. For Lee Sin's Masters, you're first going to start with a 5 in Fury, 1 in Fresh Blood, 5 in Vampirism, and then 1 in Double-Edged Sword. Move to the Cunning Tree, taking 5 in Savagery, 1 in Runic Affinity, 5 in Merciless, 1 in Dangerous Game, 5 in Intelligence, and then 1 in Thunderlord's Decree. For Lee Sin's runes, you're first going to start off with 9 attack damage marks, 9 flat armor seals, 9 magic resist glyphs, and then 3 attack damage quintessences. For Lee Sin's summoner spells, you're first going to take Flash and then take Smite as well, since you're jungling. When starting the game off with Lee Sin, you're first going to take Hunter's Machete into Refillable Potion. You're going to start off with Tracker's Knife into Warrior. Second, take Mercury Treads. Third, Black Cleaver. Fourth, Deadman's Plate. Fifth, Maul of Memortius. Then finally, Guardian Angel. Now there's multiple combos you can do with Lee Sin, all relying on his ultimate. The first is a ward hop into a kick. You first want to start off with this combo with a ward behind the target, use W to safeguard to them, and then ult them into your team that's usually behind you. This can also be done with Flash just as easily, except you need to ult first and then Flash. It takes a moment for your ultimate to be activated, so by the time you flash over, they'll be kicked in the opposite direction. Now ganking with Lee Sin is rather easy. If you're post 6, you can just get behind the target and then kick them into your team. If it's pre 6, however, you first want to go in behind the target and wait for them to use mobility spells to get past you before you use your Q. Lee Sin has a ton of mobility, so there's no real reason in using it before the target gets past you and just wasting it before you can actually do anything. Try and land your E when they're near you to slow them, and with your W and Q, you should be able to catch up with them no problem. Once you do have your ult, however, use the combos I showed before to kick squishies into your team and get free teamfight wins. And keep in mind that your ult target can't move at all, so use this time to land a Q. Lee Sin's teamfighting is a lot like his ganking, except he causes a lot more havoc for the rest of the enemy team. Use your mobility to get behind a squishy and then kick them into your team, and hopefully they can finish them off. After that, it will be an uneven fight, and you should win it pretty easily. However, keep in mind that this tactic usually results in you being in the middle of the enemy team. So hold on to your W and try and use it to get away before you die yourself. And if you got the time, try and land a E and slow all the enemies, because a mass AoE slow can really turn a team fight. My final thoughts on Lee is that he's one of the most rewarding champions to play in the game. However, he does have a very high skill cap. I would not recommend this champion if you're trying to learn the jungle, because his Q is really embarrassing whenever you miss and you lose out on a lot of mobility and damage when doing so. His ultimate combos take a bit of practice and can be really heartbreaking whenever you flash in the enemy team to get nothing. However, all this sorrow instantly disappears once you land one of those combos and feel like the best player in the world. Not only is Lee Sin a really good jungler right now, but he also makes you feel like a beast whenever you need it the most.